I am Avanish Kumar and I'm in the area of public policy and governance in MDI since last 16 years. And we have been here since the inception of this program called Public Policy and Management. Prior to MDI, I have worked in some of the development agencies like TERI and Development Alternatives, handling programs and projects on rights and entitlements of the poor. The need for public policy and governance is much more important today than ever. The reason being that the whole paradigm of governance and public management has changed. How it has changed drastically? It is not changing rapidly, but it has also changed radically in terms of, if you see the way the government of India has designed the whole idea of cooperative federalism or competitive federalism, keeping in context of self-reliant India, that is called basically Atmanirbhar Bharat. What government is also thinking about developing capacity which is in tune with global market and also global governance framework. Therefore, I think what was trained, let's say 20 years ago, if you see a class of public policy traditionally, average participant comes with 20 years of experience. What does it mean? Technically, it means that one is actually gone through so-called capacity building program 20 years ago. That gives an advantage to the class, because if you calculate even an average of 20 students, then the average years of experience in one class is around 400 years. However, it also says basically a meaning and a message that there is a need to revise and revamp some of the contemporary knowledge. Therefore, I think when the public policy officers making public policy decisions or also enabling public policy, though traditionally, that public policy was made by the legislator, but the whole paradigm of public policy is changing, because now you see many contemporary policies which are made through what we call as which is basically through the whole ideas of which is called as movement or public policy movement. That is also called in technical terms demosprudence. What does it mean? That the judiciary has become very important. So now the interplay of executive powers, like if you can see some of these policy initiatives by Aam Aadmi Party like odd and even, is not through legislative power, neither through the judiciary, it is through the executive power. So the whole amalgamation of the policy making paradigm, whether coming together of judiciary, executive and also the legislative power, makes it very different for people to actually know the new techniques and instruments of policy making. Therefore, I think it's very important that any officer would like to or maybe interested to come to MDI, they will get an exposure of such techniques which are contemporary not only in India but which are also proven to be good across the world. Currently, there are many universities and institutes which are offering public policy program, but I would like to talk about what MDI is doing very distinctive. This is based on my 18 years of delivering this program, design of the program, and also working very closely with the government on several of these mid-career programs. MDI is probably the unique in three senses. You may have programs which builds knowledge and understanding, and I think every program does. What is distinctive about public policy making in India, in fact, which we are delivering, is going beyond understanding, and that's the perspective building. What is perspective building? I would like to take 2 seconds on this. Perspective is an idea and a capability to take value judgment when one is in dilemma. The officers have to actually cope with this dilemma which are in confronting in nature. Therefore, how do you use experience and evidence together to combine these together and make a decision making which is fruitful not only for current and maybe future generation but also for the rest of the world. If you see roughly, a participant in MDI for a year goes to around 38-36 courses, or maybe I would say not courses, it can be topics, which leads to both horizontal learning and vertical learning. What is horizontal learning? We are probably the first to recognize that every officer is also the source of knowledge. Every individual in an average possesses 20 to 25 years of experience. Therefore, we try to build in a class around 600 years or 400 years of experience together, along with the faculty who steers the class through that particular direction. Once this understanding is built, In order to build a perspective, there are two things which are very critical, which are often left with many universities and institutes. What are these two? You know, it is said that value judgment can only be brought in when there is an immersion. What is the immersion? There are two components of immersion which lives in two diverse spectrums. One is at the top, that's the global level, and the second is at the bottom, which is at the rural level. MDI is the one who first adopted rural immersion and international immersion. It is not about rural immersion and international immersion, it's about bringing the teaching in class, rural immersion and international immersion together in translating the knowledge and experience in the form of policy making and in the form of policy paper, which we call. At the end of the course, every officer is expected to be guided and supervised by one of the co-supervisors from the department and also from the MDI faculty, which is to translate their ideas into a policy paper that is all about making policy alternatives which are fruitful for our future. That is the uniqueness, and I think that is why MDI participants should favor or maybe select, because this is something unique which we bring in, and that is something which is very important as far as I understand.